of the three different areas that we really focus on in coaching is number one, asking thought-provoking questions to really get people to think about how they're going to respond, because more times than not, the answer is already within.
Welcome to another episode of Reframe for Resilience. I'm Dr. Frank L. Douglas, the host of Reframe for Resilience, and my guest today is Mr. Kevin Wayne Johnson. Mr. Johnson is a prolific author. In fact, last year he received the presidential medal, the Presidential Medal for Lifetime Achievement. And we are really looking forward to discussing various aspects with him. He spent 34 years in the military, including being Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense. After those 34 years, he launched his own consulting company, the Johnson Leadership Group, and focuses on helping leaders to be better leaders. Welcome, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a joy to be with you today.
Well, we are looking forward to this conversation. I'm actually quite excited for reasons I think our audience will, for reasons that will become very clear to the audience. So share with us something about your journey.
Well, you pretty much summed it up in terms of the intro, but what's really interesting about the journey is I'm the son of a U.S. Marine. And so from the time I was ankle high, I learned all about discipline, the importance of being early, because in the eyes of a Marine, you're not on time unless you're early. I learned a lot about grooming, making sure all clothes were ironed. And it kind of followed my journey, both as a teenager, into college, and then ultimately into the workforce. So that's a little something that I wanted to share with the audience, because it has a lot to do with who I am and how I move in my place and my space and everything that I do. So that's an important piece to remember.
That's very good. Although my mother was not in the Marines, those were two things that she taught us. Always be early.
Yes.
Always be early. She said on time was being early,
L-
or being early
Late.
on time.
That's what I was taught from the time I was a real young fellow. And so that's all I ever knew.
Thank you for sharing that aspect of your journey. Tell me, in this amazing career that you've had, this amazing life, there are one or two episodes in which you had to change perspective or change the way you were doing things. And by so doing it, that had a really tremendous impact on your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So they both started in the home. I just referenced my dad being a Marine. My mother entered into the federal government workspace, and she encouraged me to do the same. So I followed her. But at the age of 3.5, my parents had their second child, a little bouncing baby boy. So I have a baby brother. I don't have any sisters, but he was born with a mental disability. And so I learned very, very early in life the characteristics and attributes of respect, honor, care, value, because I had to fight for my little brother. I had to advocate for him. I had to step in the trenches for him, because neurologically, what happens is he's really not able to fend for himself, not at the chronological age of his peers. And there's also some challenges with social skills as well, and aptitude. And so negotiating with his administrators, his teachers, keeping the bullies off of him in the neighborhood because he's different, gave me a whole different perspective on life that I probably would not have had it not been for him. And so that journey started at home. And then fast forward, after college, I meet a young lady. We begin to date. We fall in love. We get married, and from our union, we have three sons. And interestingly enough, the youngest son didn't speak at all for his first 2 years. I mean, he laughed, he cried, he jumped up and down, he ran, and he rode on the in the wagon. He played ball. He swung on the swing set, but he didn't say anything. So we knew something wasn't right, and we had it checked. And sure enough, the diagnosis came back with autism. So here we go again. I had two choices: get upset, get angry. Why me? Here we go again. I've already lived this life, or step in the gap as a father, to love his son, to cherish his son, to advocate for, fight for, negotiate on behalf of, serve, support, and respect him for the differences. And so that's been my journey. And those are two areas that really shaped me and formed me in terms of who I've become and how I lead, how I communicate, how I'm able to shift, to be resilient, to be flexible and adaptable. You know, as a son of a Marine, you move around a lot. And so I probably moved 6 to 7 times as a child. So stability wasn't really a part of our life. And then fast forward, I find myself in a position where I'm having to serve a brother and serve a son in a way that they couldn't serve themselves or really fight for themselves. So that's been the difference maker for me. It's been a blessing. It's taught me to not focus so much on self, but to focus on others. And true fulfillment came from that journey.
Ever so often I'm asked the question, what's the difference between equity and equality? And I go back to the family,
Hmm.
because the job of the parent with respect to equity is to make sure that every child gets what it needs to thrive.
There you go. That's it.
Not to treat them equally.
Exactly. That's
Get
the
what they
difference right
need to
there.
thrive. That's the difference. And and as I think of my own life and I'm hearing your life, we understand.
Hmm.
We understand that. So tell me, I was actually quite fascinated with the three elements of your coaching business as you focus on helping leaders. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, when it comes to coaching, people have to really be mindful of the fact that it's all about you and I pouring into another person to help to develop them and to help to cultivate that potential that's within them and to help them to see what perhaps they can't see, but we can see. And so, of the three different areas that we really focus on in coaching, is number one, asking thought-provoking questions to really get people to think about how they're going to respond. Because more times than not, the answer is already within. But the thought-provoking, open-ended question really helps people to think, to take a breath, to do a self-reflection, a self-assessment. They're looking in the mirror to say, hmm, that's what I was thinking. Now let me verbalize it. And when we verbalize it, it really kind of helps it come to life. They realize that they have it on the inside. It takes a coach to come alongside and kind of pull it out. The other thing that we do, or that I do specifically in the area of coaching, is getting people to really take a look at the world through that lens that they have. Not what somebody else is doing, not what somebody else says, not what someone else thinks, but looking at the world through their lens. And what I mean by that, their experiences, their perspectives, their viewpoints, and everything else that has shaped them into who they are today, because everybody's different. And so someone may think this of you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that is you. And then last but not least, the last piece that we really focus on when it comes to coaching is really helping people to understand that they have what it takes to get it done. Everybody has goals, dreams, and aspirations in this life. Every one of us do. Oftentimes they get derailed. Sometimes the obstacle is just too big for us to overcome. And other times people just talk us out of it. But we help everyone realize that that goal, dream, and aspiration is definitely achievable. So let's keep you laser focused on exactly what the desired outcome is.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. So tell us, uh, from your vast experience and the additional experience you're getting as you coach others, what are the three most important things that you have learned with respect to building resilience?
Um, well, the first thing is there's nothing constant but change. So we have to really sort of embrace it, give it a hug, align with it, and accept it. That change is not only inevitable, oftentimes it's very, very fast, it's very rapid. And the reason most of us don't like change is because number one, nobody told us that the change was coming. So that's the biggest thing. But secondly, we don't know ultimately what the outcome is going to be as it relates to that change specifically to us. And that's really a big fear that people have. So that's an area that's inevitable. I tell people to grab a hold of it, embrace it, give it a big hug because it's going to happen. I would say in the other area, it's just basically just working with and dealing with and being around people because everyone is so different. So we have to be resilient and flexible and adaptable when it comes to working with people because of personality differences, how people think, how they solve problems, how they make decisions, their style of leadership, their conflict management style. It's a combination of all of those different areas. Some people are pretty steady Eddie, and other people are all over the roadmap. And so, in alignment with the conversation we had a little bit earlier, in terms of what we've learned at home, in terms of equity versus equality, everybody's just a little bit different. And how you maneuver that can be really, really challenging, but it helps us to be resilient. And then last but not least, just persevering. Remember now, life is all about the journey. And, I tell people all the time that whenever we travel, particularly when we're driving, whether it's an automobile, an SUV, a motorcycle, a truck, whatever that vehicle is, as you're going down the roadways, there's always four obstacles. There's always speed bumps. There's always potholes. There are always curves, and there are always hills. And resilience has a lot to do with how we're able to navigate all of those, because as you know, you have to slow down when you go over a speed bump. You have to. You have to slow down. And when you get on the other side, then you can resume your speed. Same is true with the pothole. Now, in some cases, you can go around it, but for most cases, if you have to go through it, which happens a lot, you really have to slow down. And then on the other side, you can resume your speed. When it comes to hills and curves, it depends on whether it's good weather or inclement weather, whether it's wet or ice or whether it's dry. Some curves we can take and we can maintain our speed limit. Other curves we have to slow down to 5 miles an hour. And when we get around it, then we can resume our speed. And hills are the same way. And in different parts across the US, it's more hilly than in other areas, but we still have to be very, very careful. Well, life is the same way. How do we exercise resilience when it comes to life? Being aware that there are obstacles and adjusting our speed, sometimes our path, appropriately until we get past that obstacle, and then we can keep pressing forward.
Mr. Johnson, thank you very much. I will remember, I like this analogy that when faced with obstacles, we have to slow down
Mm-hmm.
because we may need to take another path.
Mm-hmm.
We have to slow down. And that's when we get to reframe, and that's when we build resilience.
There you go. That's it.
It was wonderful hearing your thoughts on these aspects. And I look forward to meeting with you again.
All
Have
right. Thank you so much.